science now, you know, I suppose GM crops we hear more about, but most of their research goes into high value crops and not into the crops that are the staple diet of the poorest people in society, and a similar thing happens with medical research as well. Capitalism is a complex system. Socialism is actually a simple answer. What we say is that the people who run society are members of the class which have to sell their mental and physical energies in return for wages or salaries in order to live. Now, the members of the working class runs this peculiar, complex society where competition, what do we hear about? To get out of the recession here, we've got to produce more and sell it in competition with someone else. So that would put workers somewhere else out of work. I mean, our people are working people in every country. And it seems to us that the most straightforward way of producing would be to produce things that people actually need and produce them for use. Now, this is a practical proposition. The main thing really is that you need majority understanding in order to get it. People have to know, and the speaker did refer to this, to have some understanding of what it is, that, how it's going to happen, what's going to happen. And this will mean that people who are now in every sphere of society would be socialist, would be working towards it, would already be thinking, well, we won't need banks, we won't need insurance, we won't need all the paraphernalia to do with money, we won't need a whole lot of other things, that the most obvious being armaments and such, because there won't be anything to fight over. What are the things we need to produce? The best that's applicable, the most appropriate things that they are. And I mean, this is a different kind of life, a whole life proposition, not capitalism but without money and everything else is pretty much the same. No, a different kind of values, different things that we need, not competition but cooperation. Equality, in as much as we have the equal right of free access to what is produced, we stand in an equal relationship to the means for producing. But we produce the best that's appropriate. We don't have this madness of a third of the people who go into London every day to work, go there to work in financial enterprises of one kind and another. It's a different kind of proposition. We hear on farming programs, they talk about what we've got to do to feed everyone, but that isn't the aim. They don't produce food because it's needed. Of course, as the other speaker said, if you don't produce things that nobody wants, but everyone needs food, but it's produced to be sold, and if you haven't got the money, then you go hungry. And I mean, it's an absolutely ridiculous situation that thinking, reasoning human beings cannot devise a better way of doing things. And we say that a better way of doing things would be common ownership, democratic control of the means for producing and distributing wealth. If you think that, well, I have a whole world situation, maybe that makes it more difficult, but local, the production will be as local as possible, food produced locally as far as possible, not this wretched business where thousands and thousands of tons of flowers are produced in places where they don't have enough to eat, to come to the Western market where they grow cash crops to send to European markets. It's an absolute nonsense. In Ethiopia, when they had problems with power cuts, they assured the power supply to the flour producers, while people who were making food for babies and special case for malnourished children, they didn't get the power in the power cuts. You know, it's an absolutely obscene system that is capitalism. And as we say, capitalism is a complex system. Socialism is a simple system, but we need majority understanding to get it.
capitalism, whether it's the system that exists at the moment or the fantasy dreamt up in the minds of so-called libertarian capitalists, it's a system of deceptive illusion. That's why, if you think of it, the slogan Arbeit macht frei sums up capitalism very well indeed. I think probably most people have heard of the term over the entrance to Auschwitz concentration camp. The translation, which I think probably most people are aware of, is work brings freedom. That is what the apologists for capitalism would have us believe in their fantasy world. There are millions of people working their socks off in this country and all over the world. Most of them, what have they got? A mortgage and a huge debt hanging round their necks as they go into their 40s and 50s. If they're living in the third world, if we have a look at United Nations statistics, I won't bore you with too many, but the crucial ones. 1 billion of the world's population, nearly a sixth of them, has got no access to clean drinking water. A further, around 1 billion has got no access to the vital medical services they need in order to survive. Another significant factor is about 10 million children per year die because of they're not given the correct treatment that they need. They die through preventable diseases, which a society like socialism, catering for human need, would easily be able to provide them with those medical needs. The illusion that's been peddled by the apologists of capitalism is the idea that the consumer is king. Just open your eyes, look around at the world, not necessarily in Africa or in South America, but even in this country. See the people seeing on the who are sleeping rough out on the streets in London and countless other cities throughout the world. See the people starving in Africa and South America. How much are they kings as consumers? The thing is that money is a rotten system, rotten to the core, and the reason is because the majority of us ain't got much of it. And that is the key to it. All this fantasy about, oh yes, you can go along to your supermarket and buy yourself the latest widescreen TV. You try saying that to the average African peasant. You try saying that to the people on the dole, and there are more of them. And of course, the other thing that capitalism, whether it's the present rubbish or the libertarian capitalists' rubbish, there's one thing that capitalism will never be able to solve, and that is its inevitable trade cycle of booms and slumps. So what I often say to the latest apologist of capitalism is, okay, well, maybe in a year or so's time, we'll be out of this credit crunch and slump, and then we're going to boom. But what about the next trade slump? And the one after that, and the one after that. So what socialists are saying here tonight, that is, if you want to avoid all that misery, if you really want to make human beings king, not consumers, because there won't be any money, as Richard has clearly explained, we're talking about a system of common ownership without exchange, but people taking according to your need. If you want that type of world, you'll reject the lunacy that we've got at the moment and support a system which supports all of humanity and not just a privileged few.